all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.
Beyond.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 349. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside he only does everything, Colin Moriarty.
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see. Is it like all truncated?
No,
so the lines
we're
are
zoomed out.
Oh, okay.
So you see the counter clock there. Also, spoiler, I don't even use this anymore. That's just there for backup. I only use this audio off the video
that's
now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Go Islanders. It's free agency starting today. Made some interesting signings and some good things going on in the NHL.
Go Devils.
Go Devils, yeah, sure. Why not?
Anything but the Rangers.
Here's the funny thing. I just thought this was funny because Altano would appreciate this. We traded a draft pick to have exclusive negotiating rights with a defenseman, Dan Boyle, who's from the Sharks. So you had like a month to figure it out.
Is he related to Dan Boyland, who is my friend's older brother?
No, I don't think so because typically when you're related, you share the same last name. Not a last name that sounds like
It's one of those
like
things that
last
I don't
name.
know if they had to drop the D from it when they went out there and did
I
their
like
thing.
to drop a D.
Yeah, sure you do.
But nonetheless, so it lapsed today, and then who does he sign with? But the Rangers for less money than we offered him.
Why?
So is that a thumb in the eye kind of move?
Yeah, well, because the Rangers, I guess, they went to the finals based on a good goaltender and a subpar team.
Did he want? He
mediocre
wanted to live in
bullshit.
New York
Like a
and
Rosenbaum.
not Long Island, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't know what he's missing out on.
I mean, anything beats San Jose, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You're never going to win there.
Yeah.
I know that.
If you're not a juggalo or a single mother, that's a hard place. And there's actually a lot of overlap with those two. Go San Jose.
That third voice in the ever-rotating third chair is none other than my Italian meatball, Brian Altano.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey!
Rap.
Thanks for coming.
All that
Rap
fun stuff.
indeed. Thank you for coming.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
I love you.
I love you too.
I feel like in my heart we're getting closer to Minecraft Vita, which is making me pretty excited.
Yep. Every day is another day closer, right?
Yeah. We had a lot to talk about in this show, so I don't want to spoil too many things, but I was playing that Shovel Knight on the way here, too. Save it, because there's questions about Shovel Knight coming up, but who dogs? That's a fun game.
Oh, it's great, right?
Yeah.
You playing on 3DS?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's my thing.
It's a special game.
It is.
Yeah.
Before
for a special boy.
I'm a very special boy, for sure. It's Podcast Beyond episode 349.
Oh, crap,
Colin,
really?
Which means a few things.
Crap.
It's my
Number
rating
one,
system.
it means that it's been pretty much a year since Podcast Beyond 300.
Yep.
When we had everybody come out.
Yep.
Shuhei,
Oh, man.
Dave Fennoy, M-Dog, Troy Baker. That was fun. Thanks for everybody's support. I can't believe a year's gone by already.
It's hard to believe it's been 1 year.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's been 1 year since Podcast
Wow,
Beyond.
that's nuts.
Right.
So that means you guys also have a little thing coming up around the bend then, right?
That means next week is Podcast Beyond 350. And ladies and gentlemen, as you know, every 50th episode of Podcast Beyond is the call-in episode where we call you, the fans, to be part of the show, ask your questions live, talk to us as we go. Everybody, here's what else you know about me, Colin. You know this a lot, I know. The fans, I'm sure we have some new ones from Podcast Beyond 300. They just started listening. There's very specific rules to be part of any Podcast Beyond. So we're about to run through how you become part of Podcast Beyond 350. If you deviate from any of these rules, you are automatically disqualified. So stick with me.
Because you're going to run like a rule.
Exactly. I run a Gmail rule, so I get everything gathered up. And then if I go through and you're some kid who didn't give me some of the information I requested, you're right out the door. It doesn't even work for you. So here's the most important thing. To be part of Podcast Beyond 350, to be called and be part of the show on the telephone, you need a telephone number one. But you also need to be free Tuesday, July 8th. You're here, right? I didn't even check this, right? You're not. Where are you going next week?
No, I don't travel anymore until we go to Tokyo.
All right, great. So you need to be free Tuesday, July 8th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you don't know what time zone you are in, you need to grow the f*** up. I got to write that curse word down. If you do know your time zone but aren't sure how that parlays into Pacific time, you go to Google and you find out. Don't tweet me. I'm not going to help you. I don't care.
It's really easy.
Let me Google that for you.
You type like what time is it and then your place.
Right.
This happened on Game Over Greggy's show when we were talking about the etymology of soccer.
Yeah.
And I said the etymology of soccer is English, not American.
Yeah.
And they were like, what is your source? And I'm like, here's what you do. You Google soccer etymology.
Yeah.
And then you find the answer to that
Sometimes
question.
it gets away from you. So anyways, Tuesday, July 8th from 11 a.m. until 12:30 Pacific time, p.m. obviously, you have to be available. Here's the thing. Don't think you might be available, so you'll do it, and then you won't be. If you get chosen, you are taking away someone else's time. You're screwing over a fellow Podcast Beyond fan.
Yep.
And this is something where we'll just edit you out of the show. So it doesn't even work for you if you're like, well, I want to hear my name read.
We should note, too, that 11:30 is a.m.
11 a.m. to 12:30 Pacific to p.m.
And the 12:30 is p.m. So
Yeah.
that there's a shift in time
You have
there.
an hour and a half.
So
You need to be
calculate
an
that
hour and
as
a half
well.
available. You need to
Calculate
be-
that as well. Don't get lost there.
Get your abacus.
So that's just the first part of this, all right? There are 6 steps to the perfect email to be part of Podcast Beyond.
I want to point out we've weeded out all the sleeping people.
You can
So
stay awake.
if you want to stay awake, but if you go to sleep during those times, according to when you Google where you live plus a clock, wake up or stay sleeping.
Mitchell Morgan, I want you to chronicle all these rules for us. All right, number 1, you need to send us an email to beyond@ign.com that is titled Beyond 350 question. Beyond 350 question. That's your subject line.
Not question mark.
Exactly. No, just
no colons.
no. Beyond 350 question.
Capital Q.
BEYOND
There
space.
are 3 groups of letters and numbers.
Capital B 350
Yeah.
in digits.
No,
Keep in
don't-
mind,
now don't listen to that.
the 350. Keep those numbers. Don't write out the whole word like you're writing a check.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you want to be all cute and clever and spell it out, go ahead. Your email will not get caught by the rule, and you will be lost for
Yeah,
all
you know
time.
who will read that? The trash.
Yeah, the Gmail deleting monster. All right, number 2,
He reads
write
everything.
your question. Keeping them short is usually good, as you know, on Podcast Beyond.
Yep.
You can extrapolate later. Number 3, write your phone number. I need an area code.
Put the parentheses around the area code and then dashes in between the area code and the first 3 digits of the number, and then a dash after the first 3
Yep.
but before the last 4 digits of the number.
Number 4, write your name. I need to know your name. Your full name, your pen name, I don't care. Just give me your
And
name.
if you work at the operator or 911, you call us when you get home.
Number 5, I need a picture of yourself. You need to send us a picture of yourself. I'm going to try to put your pictures on screen this year. It's going to be
JPEG
exciting.
format.
JPEG format, no bigger
No
than
animated
500
GIFs.
by 500.
Really?
I don't know.
No, you're going to want them bigger than that.
Well,
You're gonna put it in
I'm
the video.
shrinking them down to the,
I see,
the
okay.
lower third.
No, you remember people?
Right.
People used to take these digital cameras. You take a picture. You can put it on the Super Bowl. It's
Yeah.
so big.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't need all
crap.
that.
Yeah. And then number 6, your favorite PlayStation game. So now, this isn't your favorite game of all time. Your favorite PlayStation game on any of the PlayStation
That
platforms.
appeared on a
Exclusive.
PlayStation.
I don't think it has to be exclusive.
Not
Do
exclusive.
you want it to be exclusive?
Not exclusive.
A game that is playable on PlayStation. That includes the NES emulator on PSP.
Nope.
Caveat to number 6.
It's a wonder this is so difficult.
It's mainly the headline that I'm worried about.
It's mostly
Beyond 350
Colin's
question.
fault.
I know, sorry.
Beyond@ign.com. Be free Tuesday, July 8th, 11 to 12:30. I will cull through the questions, pick the ones I think might have a shot, and I will let you know if you are in that pool so that you don't have to stay awake to never get a phone call. So you will hear back from us if you are in the running to be called that show. But as you know, I bring in many questions. I don't get to all of them.
Now, here's a real question, not a question
Sure.
that's designed to confuse people. We sometimes when we do like giveaways or we have emails that email us about a certain thing, we usually say like, don't email us after this certain date. You know what I
good
mean?
call,
Because it's like
good
the
call.
codes will be gone or whatever. So even though people might be listening to this whenever they're listening to it, maybe they're listening to it in 2015, we're traveling
Sure.
to the future.
Yep.
It's like when we go to Japan and we
Yep.
cross the date line. Should we say like, don't email us after?
Yeah, that's a good
Because,
question.
You know, so
I mean, because the real thing here is like there's a holiday in between here for the States. So I'm honestly probably not going to check it. I mean, if we want to cut it off, we could only get the hardest of hardcore Beyond fans.
that's true.
And I would
But
say,
don't we want that?
yeah, we do want that. So all right. So you have an inroads, ladies and gentlemen. I need your questions by Wednesday, July 2nd, at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Remember Google.
Yep.
That way I can just make all the graphics, be done. We can be ready to roll on Tuesday.
And you don't be writing in the old episodes 2.5 years from
Dude,
now.
we gave away Little Big Planet beta codes once. I still get an email every so often about it.
So when I worked
The game's got a 3 coming out.
When I
have
worked
a beta
for-
code for it.
when I worked for GameSpy, rest in peace, big ups. Editor-in-chief Will Tuttle went out and he said, "Hey, if you can write a haiku about Halo, we can give you like this, multiplayer beta code giveaway thing, something like that." We got haikus about Halo for like 2.5 years after that. The game was done. We were on the other things. We were still getting haikus, and they
People
were
between
bad
that.
haikus.
Yeah.
They weren't even good.
They weren't following the, what is it, 575?
575. It was just like Master Chief rules. I love video games. Send me that. That's not a haiku. Maybe it is.
That sounded pretty good. I
did the
hope
math.
it was.
You
I
were
was never good
that
at
was
that.
565.
Oh, really?
Yeah, send me that. No, so it's you were
crap, what keep saying?
564.
Send me that son.
Send me that son. That's 5.
All right, there we go.
All right, so wait.
Don't forget. Don't get lost in
Master Chief. I love Master Chief. What was the second line?
Video games rule. That was
Yeah,
I was way off.
Yeah, video games rule for real. 7.
Okay. 5, 7. What was the last 5? Send me the son. Got it. There we go. Don't send us haikus about Halo. Unbelievable.
Chronicling all the curses I got to
Curses?
delete.
There's a couple back there.
It was worth
Sorry.
it.
Sorry
That's okay.
about that.
We're trying to cut them down.
Yeah.
I like how it says 1730. A bunch of.
Well, now come on. You're not screwing up my ending. Now I got to do it to 1420. And it's a 13. 1330 to 1420. Let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news.
There are 9 items on the list. It's not a very exciting week, though. So we'll move through them quickly if you'd like.
Sweet.
If that makes you happy.
We like hanging out. We like talking.
If that makes you
This
happy.
is IGN's PlayStation podcast, the number one PlayStation podcast on the internet. We're a conversational podcast. I'm sure we'll get distracted.
What if we have a bone to pick?
You might.
Do it in iambic pentameter.
Number 1. Sony-owned studio Polyphony Digital is officially working on Gran Turismo 7. Word comes by way of Kazunori Yamauchi himself, the man who created the franchise. He confirmed that it won't launch in 2014 and it won't be a prologue iteration. Little else is known about it. Gran Turismo 6 came to PlayStation 3 late last year, and by Gran Turismo standards, it underperformed significantly. That's interesting if you're into Gran Turismo. I know Gran Turismo 6 left a lot bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. My assumption is Gran Turismo 7 will be some sort of free-to-play game or platform, which would be good. Don't forget Drive Club comes out this fall. I'm sure Evolution is just thrilled that they're already talking about Gran Turismo.
Do you play those games?
No.
Yeah,
I don't
me
play
either.
racing games.
No.
Definitely not simulation racing games.
Yeah, I'll play some Mario Kart.
I'll get in the machine. Maybe
some Wipeout.
I'll play a little San Francisco Rush every once in a while.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the arcadey ones, right? Like, I'm super excited for the Crew, just because it's like, okay, cool. You know, it's an RPG with a car. That makes sense, and you're running around doing crazy, stupid stuff. But like, Gran Turismo, I've never been good at, and I've not tried like I've invested hours in it, but I'll sit down and play with it. And my favorite is when I went to my TGS and we went to the studios for Polyphony, and they had all the nice things, and they were debuting all this footage. Like, why don't you get in and try? And I'm like, okay, and just right into the wall, and I couldn't get the wall off, and I'm in the pod shaking.
That's the way. Yeah, when we had Gran Turismo 5 in the office before it came out, I was playing it.
Yeah,
and I would just like I would play like it was like we were playing San Francisco Rush, where I would just like not use the brake.
Yeah,
basically, and just like crash into things, and like it's just like you're not supposed to play like that.
Yep.
Kazunori would punch me in the back of the head if you saw. Sorry,
it's fine.
There's another one.
I can't. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do. We've been cursing on this podcast for 7 years. You know,
we took a break. Remember.
Number 2. Sony's confirmed that a PlayStation 4 bundle will be released that includes The Last of Us Remastered. It's only been confirmed for Europe and will cost £374 or 429 euros. The bundle's existence was originally leaked by none other than the usual culprit, Amazon France.
What's going on over there?
They leak literally
everything, right?
Yeah, everything. Number 3. Sony has revealed that the slate of free PlayStation Plus games for the month of July. North Americans will get Towerfall Ascension on PlayStation 4, Dead Space 3 on PlayStation 3, Muramasa Rebirth on PlayStation Vita, Strider on PlayStation 4, Vessel on PlayStation 3, and Doki Doki Universe across PlayStation platforms.
Wow. They're just handing stuff away.
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
Hand over fist.
Writes into Beyond at ign.com just like you can. It says Beyond.
Beyond.
Greg Colin and spins the wheel. Click, 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 click. Blank slate. That's Brian Altano.
Yeah.
I have a topic for you guys. So PlayStation Plus is fantastic. Loads of great deals and content. But here's the issue. When I see trailers/announcements for awesome indies like Child of Light, Strider, or Valiant Heart, 2 of those, not really indies, Ubisoft games.
Yeah, Ubisoft. They got you, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I want to get them right away. I bought Strider and I love it, then found out it's free on PlayStation Plus the next month. A little disheartening seeing as how I spent $15 on a game and now it's free. Another I bought was NBA 2K14, now it's free on PlayStation 3. Valiant Hearts came out and I really almost did not buy it because I thought it would show up on PlayStation Plus soon. What is a good time for PlayStation to wait to push something for free? One hand, it adds amazing value. On the other, it takes away the push to buy a new product because it just might be free next month.
I don't think there is any time. I mean, sometimes you see brand new games are free, and actually, Xbox has been doing a lot better with games for gold, or whatever it's called, where like actually the new Guacamelee that comes out is free right off the bat, which PlayStation has been doing for a while. So they're learning over there too. I think it changes. I mean, let's look at the games right now, right?
Okay.
Towerfall Ascension came out earlier this year.
Yeah, and it was really well received. See, I mean, you go with it. I don't know where you're taking this.
I was just saying, probably underperformed. So you have to understand, we don't know the exact rules, but the developers are handed lump sums for this as well. So this works out for them too, and there might be negotiations going both ways.
Sure.
Vessel is a PS3 digital game that probably no one played. Dead Space 3.
That's been a while.
Might be building up hype for a new Dead Space announcement soon.
Yeah.
Muramasa Rebirth, I know, did way better than I think a lot of people thought it was going to do.
Good. That game was great.
Yeah, and that's a Vita game. Strider was awesome, I thought, on PlayStation 4. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was too easy. But other than that, it was a lot of fun little Metroidvania game. Doki Doki Universe, I'm sure, didn't do well.
Right.
So it behooves these developers to get involved in this program, and I think that there is no time. So like what you see here is a variety of games that have come out at different times. Actually, these games are pretty front loaded. I think the oldest game here is Dead Space 3, and then Muramasa, which is over a year old, and then everything else is less than a year old.
Right.
See, I think he's got a fascinating point. I go through this mentally myself all the time with PlayStation Plus, where I do see a game like Strider, right? And I did buy Strider and I played it because I grew up on the NES, so the Strider is amazing. But I could see how someone would look at a game like that and be like, this is one of those kind of like slightly more quiet, kind of middle tier games. Like this is exactly the type of stuff that becomes free 2 or 3 months later.
Yeah.
So you either drop $15 on a 5-hour game or 10-hour game right then, or you wait a few months. So like it's a chicken and egg thing, right? Like sales on these things could be doing better if we didn't constantly have that shadow of the doubt in our head, or joy that it could be coming to PlayStation.
I bet the differential there in terms of percentage of people who are like, I'm not going to do it is super low. I think if there was no PlayStation Plus, games like Strider would come out, right? You'd hear some people mixed reviews. I don't like it. It's if you like the NES version, blah blah blah, and you'd pass on it and never think about it again. You know what I mean? That's what I think PlayStation Plus is great at, right? These games come out, Towerfall, right? They came out and we loved it. We loved it for like those first 2 weeks and talked about it and played it in the office and had a great time. And then we stopped talking about it, and kind of a lot of people stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
And it fades away and gets lost on now. All these E3 announcements are above it. All these other games have come out, and it's like pushing it down in your mind, your subconscious, right? And then something like this comes around. It's almost like the paddles, right? It's like jump starting you back to life for a little bit of like, boom, now people are talking about it again, playing it, and then when it does go away, there's still that hope that people are like, oh, I see it on the store, at a discounted price now, and I'm going to pick it up. And there'll be a sale for it down the road, right? Like one of those like summer sales they do and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense. I actually with this, it was that happened with me with Towerfall, because I was like, this is correct me if I'm wrong, it's a local multiplayer only game, right?
Yeah,
you
can play single player.
There's a single player,
but it's supposed to.
It's predominantly multiplayer game, and it's local only. And I'm like, okay, well that's just like whoever happens to be at my apartment, which is like at most it's like me and my fiance and sometimes Greg's dog, and I haven't trained him yet to play Towerfall. I'm working on it. But that's like a perfect for that to be free. A few months ago, I was like, I totally want to buy this, but I don't know how much I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's here. So I mean, that's cool. There.
See, I think you got hung up on not buying it because it didn't fit your curriculum at the time for a game you want right then.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like for me, that was the thing with. I didn't buy a similar argument here that is again like a small percentage of gamers. I think is like Child of Light came out, and I watched a review, and everybody's talking about how great it was, and it's awesome, and I was so busy that I'm like, this is going to be a Vita game at some point. Like you could just see how it looked, you know what I mean? And I still feel that way about Valiant Hearts too, but I jumped in on Valiant Hearts because I couldn't wait, you know what I mean? Like I want to play that. I think there's enough immediacy out of people that they see games like that, they buy them and want them. So like I understand where Eric's coming from being on the fence here, but I think people who are like that are that super hardcore, really into PlayStation, watching everything.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of other people who would see Valiant Hearts like, that's a cool game, and forget to buy it that week and never buy it again.
Yeah.
So if it does come up as PlayStation Plus eventually.
I think that no matter what, this is it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I will also say just real quick that I think Sony is actually going above and beyond.
Beyond!
With letting people know a month early what some of these games are going to be. Because if I was them, I would not say anything until the games are free.
Yeah.
Because you're actually destroying the sales of those games. Like if you're clued into like PlayStation blog or whatever, which is a big website, Doki Doki Universe is going to be free at some point in July. So like you don't buy it. Yeah. And so I think that's actually kind of cool of them because they weren't doing that for a long time.
I imagine they did the math on it, though, right? Because like a Doki Doki Universe, how many people were out there getting ready to buy it?
At least 10 people were going to buy it this month.
Sure.
Before.
Yeah, I think what that does too is it probably it creates new signups. Like people look at that and they go, "All right, well, I haven't signed up for PlayStation Plus yet, but this is gonna be the month that gets."
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, because you figure you're like, "All right, cool. In 15 days, I'm downloading Towerfall, but I might as well pick it up now and then get the games that are free."
Because people do buy those in like 1 or 3 months, like bursts.
Yeah, you can do
right?
1, 3, 6 in
it's
a
1,
year?
6 in a year.
I think it's
or
1,
something.
3 in a year. I don't
1,
know
3 in a year.
There's no 6. Okay.
Okay.
I tell you what, I pitched a complete game last night, and man, the shoulder's killing me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rookie of the year.
9 innings. Number 4. The much-requested blue DualShock 4 controller is finally coming westward. It will be available in the United States in the fall. It's only been available in Japan so far. I think it was revealed when I was in Germany last year at Gamescom, along with the Red controller. Das Colin in Germany, hanging out, eating some Wiener Schnitzel.
Yeah.
A lot of meat there, right?
So much meat and pretzels.
So much meat.
Yeah.
What do you eat in Japan? So I'm going to Tokyo with you.
Yeah.
Which I'm incredibly excited about.
Yeah, I eat a lot. I mean, it's a little hazardous. To eat in Japan if you don't like seafood.
You don't like seafood?
No.
Period.
No.
Because I've heard something that in the past some of the video guys told me that they would play a game called "Is there fish in it?"
Yeah.
And they would bite into something.
Is it fish?
Is it
game.
fish?
Yeah.
And they would bite into something. It'd be like, oh, it's a donut for breakfast. There's no way there's fish in this. Nope, there's fish.
The way I remember this too because they told me this game before I ever went to my first TGS, and like. I swear to God, they must have time traveled to 1960. I don't like. I've never eaten something in Japan.
Really?
Like, it's like I'm always like pointing at pictures and talking to people, and they know English, or you're going for ramen, or you're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. Is you just got to stay. Like the best stuff I had was we go to actually have Korean barbecue. I had it with a few times when I was there, and I just load up, man. It's just so good.
Yeah. It's a lot of meat. You cook
then
it
Darren's
yourself.
trying to cook fish like in squid on the same grill that I'm cooking my steak on. That's not going to happen.
You got to get on that squid.
Yeah,
Get on
that's
that
fine.
taco nigiri. Come on.
You don't eat seafood at all?
No.
Why?
Trying to be rebellious. I'm from Long Island.
That doesn't make any sense.
It was really hard growing up there, and that's like seafood's a big part of our microculture there.
Right. So none of what you're saying describes why you don't eat seafood.
No, I said I was being rebellious.
You're just being stubborn.
No, I really just don't like that fishy
thunk?
smell and that fishy taste.
Even shrimp, fried shrimp.
So shrimp and lobster I can do if it's like covered in something, but like I don't even like the texture, and then I know I'm eating something that was under the water. No, I can't do it. Nope. Not gonna happen. Number 5.
If only mustard was grown underwater. Mustard seeds came from some underwater plant.
I just have an aversion to seafood. Actually, my girlfriend's the same way, and she also was from Long Island, so it's very weird. Number 5.
You like that?
Watch Dogs is officially getting some new content. 3 new single-player missions will be coming to all iterations of Watch Dogs across all the platforms, and revolve around protagonist Aiden Pierce. Pierce will also get new perks, weapons, and outfits. This is part of the season pass. If you have it, I think you can buy it individually. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So if you're still playing Watch Dogs, that's an interesting little aside.
Brian.
Yeah.
You fell in love with that Watch Dogs.
I'm still playing it. So you came to pick up your dog the other day.
Yeah.
And we
Thanks
had
again for taking care of it.
Of course. We had a family member staying with us for the weekend too, my fiance's cousin. And then
They like the dog?
Yeah, everybody got along great. And then they left, and it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like, my fiance's taking a nap. I got the place to myself pretty much. Turned on Watch Dogs. I looked up, and it was 8:30. I had that's the last. I played maybe 7 hours of that game on Sunday, and that's on top of the 15 I've played already.
Yeah.
So I really like it. That being said, I'm not starving for new content yet because I feel like there's a lot there. It almost feels a little soon for new stuff. I'm sure there's some people, if that's the only game that they're playing,
sure,
they flew through everything. But I will say the new costumes thing, unless they're going crazy with it, it's a total cop out. Have you seen the costumes in that game?
Well, I've played the game. I customized a Mizzou jacket. And stuff.
Right. So he's got the outfits that he buys, right, that you can buy in the store, but they all look exactly the same. You're
you just change the color.
Yeah, you're like a weird French vacation dad. Yeah. You have the hat, you have the scarf, you have the big overcoat, and there's just different versions of that.
Right.
Like you're at Burlington Coats Factory, and they just got a back
We're
row.
more than just coats.
I like how, by the way, just Burlington Coat Factory. Here it just says Burlington because they don't want to scare you away. You don't need a coat.
Well, remember that was their jingle for a while.
Yeah, I know.
Burlington Coat Factory. We're more than just coats.
Yep.
Or maybe stop calling yourself a freaking coat factory.
Maybe it was.
Remember when that Boston? Do you remember Boston Rotisserie Chicken?
Yeah,
Boston
and
Market.
they changed it to Boston Market one day.
Boston Chicken, and then it became.
What
Boston
happened there?
They're like chicken is people are coming here because they think we're only chicken.
Yeah,
but we also have turkey.
We also have this
meanwhile
Burger King meatloaf
Burger
sandwich.
King middle fingers in the air. They don't care.
Yep, they don't care.
I
don't care at all.
I actually really like Boston Market a lot.
Yeah,
got
I think
really expensive though.
You know what's really good at Boston Market is the
mac and cheese.
The mac and cheese.
The mac and cheese is good. The spinach is good too.
The spinach is great. All of that stuff, it's just got it's full of butter. You can just tell, but it's so good.
Oh yeah,
it's so.
Oh
great.
yeah, I like the Boston Carver sandwich.
What was the question?
There's washed
it was a tragedy. Can you repeat the question? A little Chappelle Show reference. Number 6. Infamous Second Son standalone DLC First Light has an official release date, one that leaked weeks ago. Sony confirmed that Sucker Punch's DLC will release on August 26th in North America and August 27th in Europe.
Will writes in to beyond at ign.com just like you can. It says, "Greetings, Gregory, Colin, and the ever-rotating third chair. Beyond.
What's up?
Beyond.
With the announcement of Infamous First Light standalone DLC featuring the female protagonist, Fetch, is it possible that this demonstrates a change in the tide with more female leads in video games? With the, in my opinion, successful revamp of the Lara Croft franchise and having the playability of Ellie in The Last of Us, spoilers, I found that it brings a fresh and modern perspective in gaming." Signed off, Will. I thought it was an interesting question on a few levels. Number one, we just had Nate Fox on Up at Noon. I asked him this question at the end. It was interesting to hear him talk about it. For them, they didn't think about it. They Fetch hit with the kids. Everybody who played the game talked about how awesome the character Fetch was. They went that way, and then once they got into it, they're like, oh, and they kind of like looked around, and I'm being metaphoric, obviously, looked around and were like, oh wait, not many people are doing this. And Nate was talking about how that sucks. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And he's like, we kind of walked into doing this as like, oh, we're making a cool female protagonist, but it wasn't our plan, but it needs to be for more people.
Yes. Yeah. There was that Ubisoft quote this morning. Did you guys see it about Far Cry?
Oh yeah, I heard your take on the quote. You gave me the real quote.
They said it's that Far Cry 4 is packed to the gills with female characters.
Yeah,
which is just like, I mean, it's weird because it's why even go out and say that? It's sort of just like, no, everything's fine. Come on in. We put tons of girls here for you guys. Like, I like the Infamous approach of just sort of doing it naturally and being like, oh yeah, that's right. Why would we even think about that?
This is what I always come back to when we talk about being gay in games, right? Like, and I won't spoil any games recently or in the past year, I guess, because there's a couple of standout
Super
moments.
Mario 3D World.
Yeah,
was a big one.
But the fact that both of those games kind of try to treat the relationships that I'm thinking of, the games that I'm thinking of, Wink, try to treat those relationships as just relationships, right? It isn't like beating you over the head with it. It's just like these people are in love, and that's then. And I've talked about it in a few panels and stuff, that like, that's awesome. And I hope we get to that quicker. And I hope it's the same way here, you know what I mean? The fact that, our main character is a girl or a woman.
Yeah, I want to get to the point where we just have video games where there are... It just says, featuring relationships, and that just covers everything.
Yeah.
And it's not like, you unlock exclusive gay DLC.
Yeah, do you have the Mass Effect stuff in here from this morning?
No, I don't.
Mass Effect, our first fully gay character.
Yeah, what does that mean? Like, I mean, this was like a race...
I thought, what was that guy's name? Kaiden or...
Caden?
Wasn't he?
No, Caden loved Shepard regardless of sex. That's what they mean, right? Like my femme Shep was a lesbian until she hooked up with Garrus. But giving me that option I'm assuming in what I don't care, is that made her not fully gay.
Right.
And so now this is a fully gay character where there's no...
So like regardless of your gender.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a girl. I don't know. I didn't read the article yet.
They made it sound like he's got these like gay blinders on.
Right.
Like no matter what, nothing gets past it. Like why even say that?
Yeah,
just
weird.
Like...
They've been really progressive about it too. BioWare's been very progressive.
I know.
That was Dragon Age 2. Actually, I think I said Mass Effect. So.
Yeah, it was Dragon Age, not Mass Effect. And yeah, I don't know. It's just unfortunate.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but
I guess it's baby steps.
Exactly. It's unfortunate in the way they phrased it today. In that, then this becomes the thing of more. You know what I mean? Like what we're talking about. I'd rather play that game, run into this character, try to romance him or her, and then be like, oh no, I'm only into chicks. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, see ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like not have it be a press release.
Not even a thing at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're right. It's baby steps, and in a few years we can look back at stuff like this, the way we do with everything in society and culture, and go, man, that was dumb.
Yeah.
Because it's totally accepted now.
So now, if we step away from games for a second, I want to talk more about the Up at Noon episode.
Sure.
Everyone should watch Up at Noon, of course. I'll embed it in the article for Podcast Beyond. Here's my problem, though. A whole bunch of people popped up in the comments and were totally going the opposite way, and I was floored that this is happening. Because usually we have such a great Up at Noon comment.
I was shocked at that, too.
And they were so much like, I don't need more female characters. I'll play a female character. She's hot, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, stop talking like this. Why are you talking like this? And then somebody called me out saying that... they don't like the fact that I'm always socially crusading for females in games, right? But I don't, like, on Beyond, we don't have females on all that often. And I responded back to it, and I want to make sure I point this out to listeners, viewers here, the fact of, like, Podcast Beyond is a very centric show, right? We're here to talk about PlayStation and this, right?
Yep.
I feel like the commenter called out Leah B. Jackson, one of our newest editors here, and it was like, he always, people have been demanding to have Leah on the show, and he hasn't done it. And I responded back, right, like, Leah admittedly doesn't play PlayStation that much, right? Like, it's the same way, like, me showing up on the IGN Arena podcast about MOBAs.
God.
Come on, like, what am I talking about? And so...
I'm going to do that.
For me... It's almost
make stuff up.
Like, this has come up before too when we've talked about, like, should sexual assault be in video games and how, what's that line? People get offended that we don't have more females on the show, but for me it's almost as offensive to say, oh, hey, there's a topic asking about gender equality, so I'm going to have Naomi on, Leah on, whoever on, just to be the token girl,
right?
To sound off on that one issue on a podcast about a whole bunch of games they might not be playing or up to speed on. You know what I mean?
And then you can be like, Podcast Beyond is packed to the gills with women, like. That doesn't make it any better.
Our first fully female episode.
Exactly.
So it's a slippery slope, but I mean, like, I'm trying to drive. I'm not inviting girls on the show because I want to be able to put a bullet tag on the show. I want it to be that when Megan reviews a JRPG, we bring Megan on because it makes sense and she wants to talk about this thing and the topic of the week or whatever. Blah, blah.
Yeah, it's that like sort of that's very binary, black and white. Like, there's only one way of looking at things. It sort of reminds me of like when people used to get mad at like political bans in the '90s and stuff like that, and they'd be like, well, your T-shirt company is located in China, so blah blah. And it's like, okay, well, we could just go back to music where no one has any message at all.
Yeah.
Would that be okay? Because the fact that we bring up anything should be good and invite conversation and not invite the hypocrisy in all of our worlds. Because I think that we should be allowed to talk on the show without having to illegally pad the room with females that don't know anything about PlayStation or sometimes the topic we're talking about just because they're women.
Yeah, it's more topic. Obviously, everyone knows a little bit about PlayStation.
Of course. Yeah, you can fake it.
Yeah, I mean, my only issue...
I do it. I've been doing it for 349 weeks.
My only issue with the whole argument is just like, I think that, when we focus on all of these real social issues in art, we kind of lose sight of the fact that really serious things are happening in the world that I wish people had more passion about.
Yeah,
and at the same time, get really disgruntled and mad when people are like people approach every situation, like the Far Cry situation with the offensive cover art, or with the female characters in Infamous or whatever it is, as being as if everything is offensive and nothing good has happened, like, to make it better. So what I mean by that is, like, no one prefaces it and says, like, it's getting better because we have more female characters in games. Usually it's like, where are the female characters? And it's like, did you play The Last of Us?
Yeah.
The best game, arguably the generation, with a powerful female character. I won't spoil any more than that if you didn't play the DLC.
Yeah.
A powerful female character with a lot more to her than that. You know, like, did you play Child of Light? Did you, like, all the, like... I guess what I'm saying is, like, I just get frustrated when people are like, just act like nothing is making it better. And so, like, you complain about the same thing over and over again, complain about what you want, but I always say, like, kind of give credit where credit is due. Sure. Like, you got to kind of, like, preface it and say, like, hey, man, like, it's not quite where we want it to be yet, but
we're trying.
But bravo to company X, Y, and Z for doing this, that, and the other thing. I mean, like,
I think a lot of it.
That's the thing that frustrates me.
100%, and I think a lot of it comes to the sort of immediacy and instant gratification of the way media is congested now, right? Like, you can go on Twitter, point at something, and be like, "That's offensive. I'm mad. Here's a hashtag," and then just kind of walk away and not really follow through with it, right? Like, back in the day, you had to, like, write letters. Like, you were very involved and very invested. You went to picket lines. You stood and, people like who tried to stop violent rap lyrics and stuff like that. And, that was like a campaign for a lot of people. Now it's like a hashtag. Yeah. And you just say something and you kind of walk away. And, like, you pop into a comment and you're like, I think all girls should be in the kitchen. Like, stupid like that. Which, first of all, if you're I will fully admit that a large majority of IGN's demographic are young males, right? And I don't think many of them know yet that stuff like that just does not fly.
Right.
Like when you're an adult in the committed relationship, gay, straight, or anything, being that disparaging and evil to your significant other or to anybody else's significant other gets you literally nowhere. Like, there is no benefit to me coming home and being like, "Hey, honey, what are you doing in the living room? I'm playing my games. You don't touch my controller unless you're handing me a sandwich." Like, that is
she can touch the controller if she hands you a
sandwich. This is like a real comment I read on Up and Noon yesterday, and it's really hard to see that. This is the whole
point of like why I think derail into conversations like this, and I mean us, why we do this, right? And on every show we do, this comes up, right? And the fact that we don't take it for granted that a large percentage of the audience is, a young audience that maybe hasn't been open to a number of experiences that we have, right? And so somebody needs to sit there and say the unpopular thing and not shame someone, even though I shame trolls once in a while on Twitter. But like,
that's fine.
If you're just making a comment and not thinking about the adjective you're using, it's so gay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, let's back up. Don't use that word. Like,
I don't know. When I was in 6th grade, I would say the same thing. Like, totally. Hey, Mom, what's for dinner? Pasta. Oh, gay. Pasta can't be gay. It's just physically impossible. But I didn't have any shows to listen to tell me that was a horrendous idea.
Yeah, and it was also it was admittedly different back then too. Like just generally with the way I think everyone talked. But to me, I think the other thing is that we just kind of get lost on the fringes. Like politics, you kind of get lost in the fringes and don't understand that like. In the middle, like on one fringe, you have the people that are like totally homophobic, totally sexist, misogynist, all those things, terrible people, right? On the other end side, you have people that look for any reason to be mad about anything, right? Like literally any reason to be mad about anything, to like go on a social justice crusade, right? In the middle, the 95% of the people in the middle are maybe vacillate one way or the other, or feel one way or the other about like, well, about how any of these issues, but understand that like it's getting better, it needs to be better than it is, and that like progress is being made, and we have to kind of be patient, and slowly these games just don't materialize out of nowhere. It takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to make a game. That like the games will become more gender inclusive or racially inclusive or whatever it is you're looking for. And those are the people that really we should listen to more often, but they're silent because they understand like the process is in play. It's the same thing that's going on with gay marriage right now. Like the domino has been tipped. It's over. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so if you're fighting, if you're fighting against that, you're wrong, and you're in the wrong, and it doesn't matter because it's still going to happen anyway. And so I feel it's the same thing here. It's just like gender equality and all these things, and the end of misogyny in games, like that will slowly occur over time. And it's slowly occurring right now because there's evidence everywhere that it's happening. If you were gay 20 years ago, you were kind of in this silent majority or minority, and you didn't tell anybody, right? And you kept it a secret. And now, if you are anti-gay, that's kind of what you have to do. It's kind of amazing. You have to hide in secrecy because now everyone else is out, and it's okay. We're all great with it. We think it's wonderful. And if you're like this, on the side going, I don't want any of that, you're there. That being said, I think that we are making progress, obviously. It's getting better each day. But we're also I feel like we're sort of and sorry if this is running a little long, but
conversational podcast.
Sure. I think we are also holding the video game industry against some of the faults it had 5-10 years ago. Like I do feel that sort of bald space marine dude bro era is kind of done. Or for the most part, like a lot.
Obviously, there's still some, but
there's still some. But I think the majority being like bald, bald, tough, straight male on the box with a gun being the way you sell video games. I think that's changing. We did this Game of the Year watch thing for GameScoop the other day, and we kind of ran through it. You were there, right? And we kind of said, a lot of the games that we're talking about are, they're smaller games, they're indie games, they're more artistic games. Like I think that creativity is flourishing in the industry right now, and it's not just about guy square in the center of a box with a gun, bald head, being like, I want to bang some chicks. Like that Duke Nukem Gears of War thing is like, it's kind of gone, and it's or getting to be gone. So that's exciting to see, and that means creativity can flourish again, and openness in terms of gender equality with characters can happen too. So we'll see. Yeah, beyond.
I think we're making good progress. Yep. I hate I just hate the whole like. It really grinds my gears of war about, the whole thing. Like, I hate everything. Everything sucks. Nothing's good enough. This is not misogynist, but it's still misogynist. This is not sexist, but it's still sexist. I'm going to look for, I was reading something that was really fascinating to me yesterday in the Washington Post, an op-ed about how this guy wrote an op-ed saying that the way the American military names its weapons is racist because we name our missiles Tomahawks and our helicopters Blackhawks, and I'm like, really? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, thanks.
You know, like, are you really like? That's a little much. You know, like that's going to the extreme and actually takes all of the legitimate qualms that you have and delegitimizes them to a lot of people. You know, because you're taking it too far. You know, and so that's like we just kind of have to meet in the middle and understand that like things are going to change slowly but surely, and there's no place for sexism or misogyny or homophobia in life generally, and that will eventually bleed into art.
Yeah,
it will. It always goes that way. You know. Mm-hmm. Number 7. A new Dragon Ball game called Dragon Ball Xenoverse has been revealed. It will be coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 as well as Xbox One and Xbox 360, and is being released by Bandai Namco. Its release timing is unknown. And I added this one at the last moment because it was announced, I guess, today. I don't know. Number 8. Escape Dead Island is coming to PlayStation 3. It's a first-person survival mystery game that takes place in between Dead Island and Dead Island 2. Its release date is still unknown. And finally, number 9, some release dates for games we already know about.
Okay.
Hardcore strategy RPG Natural Doctrine, which I saw last week and played. We'll have something on that soon. Is coming to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation Vita on September 16th in North America and September 19th in Europe, and will be available at retail and digitally. That game is really hardcore.
Yeah.
Really, really hardcore. I don't think it's gonna be for everyone, but it's funny. Like no one can die in your party, so it's kind of like Fire Emblem. Hack and Slash Warriors Orochi 3 Ultimate will be released on September 2nd for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation Vita, as well as Xbox One. Traditional RPG Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1 is coming to PlayStation Vita on August 26th in North America and August 27th in Europe, and will be available digitally and at retail. And turn-based RPG R No Surge Ode to the Unborn Star is coming to PlayStation 3 on September 23rd, and will be available digitally and at retail.
Good old Knob Switch.
Knob Switch, no word yet on Knob Switch.
Knob Switch, Scott Rhodey still dragging his heels?
I already forgot that game title. What was that?
Dragon Surge.
R No Surge?
No.
R No Surge?
Yeah, Ode to an Unborn Star.
Sounds like a Ryan Clement story.
Wow, yeah.
There was actually quite the demand from a niche of gamers to get that one translated. So yeah, there's that.
All right.
Sweet.
Those games are coming soon, but if I wanted to know what was in stores right now, Colin, where would I go?
The official Andrew Memorial list of upcoming PlayStation software on all 3 platforms.
Andrew Memorial.
Andrew Goldfarb Memorial, whatever.
I miss that boy.
Yeah, me too.
He's a good guy.
He's all right.
Did you favorite his tweet today?
No, I've never favorited a tweet in my life.
And then he saw that and he tweeted at you about it and then gave you a little kissy face.
What did he tweet?
I see you've never favorited a tweet. I'm hoping it'll be this one, smiley kissy face emoticon.
Yeah, I don't favorite
Never
tweets.
favorited a tweet?
No.
Do you like things on Facebook?
No. Never liked something on Facebook. I'll write a comment. I write a lot of comments on Facebook.
Okay, got it.
No, like
You don't just live in the walls.
No, that's what I would say. Like, I like to. I appreciate people like my things on Facebook or like my tweets. That's fine, but or favorite my tweets. But I retweet a lot of people, and I write on people's things on Facebook. I just feel like the like is just like not so much the favorite, because I think a lot of people favorite things to like save them for later and laugh at them for later. But I feel like on Facebook, when you like something, it's like yeah, it's funny.
Oh, well, it's the best. It's the easiest.
Yeah.
It's somebody's like,
engage.
I just had the greatest moment of my life, and you're like, click, drive by, woo, keep going. It's great. Oh, cool for you. You got engaged. Great. Click, bye.
Brian Altano's the one who sold me on favorites.
Yeah.
Because I only favorited stuff for like opinion comments that I needed to read like to the guest, or things that I wanted to go back one day and look at. Like when Shuhei was tweeting, when the tweet was going on between them and Gearbox, right, about Borderlands, and I'm like, this is going to happen. I'll save this for later. But then I saw Brian favoriting my tweets all the time, and I was like, what do you do? And he's like, oh yeah, I just, it's an easier way to be like, I like that. That's funny.
Yeah.
And so then it was just an easier way to interact with people who tweet at me, right? It's sometimes you tweet at me and you don't require a response really, but I want you to know that I smiled at it, or I like
that I even saw it. Like
Yeah.
people will be like, "Oh, Brian, I listened to your album. I really enjoyed it." And I'm like, "Favorite," instead of me being like, "Oh, thank you," because I just don't have time to respond to that sounds like the dumbest thing in the
I'm
world.
so busy.
Oh, I'm so good, but sometimes I just don't have.
No.
I don't like to just write tweets
We have
all
jobs.
day. Yeah, we have jobs. So I mean, it's more time I can spend doing stuff like this and making videos and other things.
seeing
that you
your
like.
fiance.
And seeing my fiance living a life.
My
yeah.
fiance.
My
My
fiance.
fiance. I hate that word. I hate
worst.
that word
Just get
so
married
much.
Just call your girlfriend.
I'm trying to get married already, so I can just get rid of that word. I was like, seriously, that's why I one of the main reasons I want to get married. I think that's the worst thing that happens to you is you go from having an amazing girlfriend or boyfriend, and then you get engaged, and you're like, my fiance. You sound like such a tool no matter where you go. You just, no, me and my fiance were at the park. It smelled like lavender. It's just like, shut up.
It's interesting that there's no like alternative, right? There's
No,
other
nothing.
like Interesting.
Nothing.
There's literally no alternative. It's not even an English word.
You could just be like, yo, me and my girl were at the park. It's like, that doesn't signify that you spend a lot of
How
money
serious
on
are you with her?
Yeah. Oh, we're getting married.
Yo, me and my engaged girl.
Me and my boo. She got a ring on her hand. She's crazy like that. See me in the streets. Fiance.
Where is my fiance?
I've lost my fiance.
And here's when you type it on some places, the little thing, the skateboard ramp doesn't appear above the E.
The accent mark.
And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And when it does, you're just like, ugh, God, it's even worse.
On PlayStation 3. Constant C comes digitally. I don't know what that game is. Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn is available digitally, and Sniper Elite 3 is available digitally in retail. PlayStation 4 Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition is available digitally. You should buy it. Support them.
I love that game. So what's in this? What's going on here?
It's just like I'm still playing it, so nothing's really changed for me yet. But I think there's some DLC that was added before, and then like some extra stage and challenge and stuff. Ooh, sorry. Write that down. Do we have to... Oh, jeez. I'm sorry that we can't curse on the podcast anymore. I mean, as you probably know, I would like to curse on the podcast.
We've already covered it in last week's episode. The boss has requested it. You have to happen. Now, when Podcast Beyond starts posting on Wednesday, you'll know why.
Puddle's available digitally. Now, this came to PS3 and Vita like right after Vita launched, so if you actually own it on those...
man, I remember that.
It's free on PS4 if you own them already.
I think I bought that on Vita.
And Sniper Elite 3 is available digitally and retail on PS4 as well. For Vita, the only game is Child of Light, which is available digitally.
Oh, you were just talking about that.
My days come in. I'm super stoked. That was when they announced that it was coming to Vita finally. They said it was coming July 2nd or 1st. Is it I don't know, whatever. Beginning of July, which meant I'd have it for my Austin trip because I'm going to RTX in Austin. And I was super excited, and I'm still traveling a lot this month. So now I got Shovel Knight and I got Child of Light.
Attaboy.
And one day we're going to have Minecraft, and it's going to be just the glorious thing of all time.
I hope we get Minecraft before we fly to Tokyo. That would be nice.
When do you leave for Tokyo?
It's August.
Oh, it's August.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
September.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You're golden.
Oh, nice.
You're great. Yeah,
don't
worry about it.
Did you finish Child of Light?
Yes.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
Oh,
it's
really?
my third favorite game of the year.
Interesting. I should get back and finish it then. I put about 5 or 6 hours in. It went from like not really grabbing me to really grabbing me to not really grabbing me. The pacing was a little weird for me.
Yeah, I actually.
But you're an old school RPG guy, right?
Yeah, I am, and I really loved the writing. Like a lot of people didn't like it or whatever. I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. This is so awesome. Yeah, this is so different.
Really beautiful game.
I walked in and Christine loved it too. She was playing it on PlayStation 4, and I watched her play it, and I was like, yeah, this looks great, but I can just see it in my hands. You know what I mean? Like just looking at the screen, I could see it as a Vita thing, and I was excited for it.
I don't know why they didn't just do that right off the bat, but that's a great game. It's not as good as Shovel Knight. It's not as good as South Park RPG, but it's the third game on that list. Yeah.
Speaking of Shovel Knight, Sam Wise writes in and says, "Dear Greg, Colin, and the ever-brotating third chair."
Oh, damn. Let yourself out.
Alas, I have trawled the internet and can find absolutely no concrete data on when Shovel Knight is coming out in the UK. I'd love to play it on the 3DS, preferably my lonely, lonely Vita. Colin, do you have any news on either of these, the UK release date or Vita port, since you are the one who's so professionally reviewed it?
So as far as I understand, it's not even in certification in Europe yet. So I think they were just focused on getting it out here. Probably something to do with the Kickstarter. I don't know much about it. Maybe they only solicited American money. I don't know.
That's probably exactly it.
But I don't. They're not ready to go in Europe yet. As far as other platforms, everyone's been asking this, and I asked them, as I said on Nintendo Voice Chat last week, people have been asking me a lot. The most asked question I got is, when is this coming to another platform? So I don't have to play it on Wii U or 3DS.
Yeah.
The answer is, we don't know.
We don't know.
But they're pretty clear that they don't want to keep it on Wii U and 3DS.
Yeah.
So, my suspicion is that it will come to other platforms. They said as much when they kickstarted it. They said that we're going to start on 3DS and Wii U, but we will want it everywhere. I think you just have to be patient. They're a very small team. They have to port these games over. So when I have official word from them, I talk to them pretty often. I'll let you guys know. But I would not be surprised to find it on other platforms.
So this is sacrilege, but I'm not really wild about trophies. Don't really care about them. I've talked about this before on the show. It's fine. They just kind of click and go in the background while I'm playing games. I'm like, cool, I did something great. But Shovel Knight is perfect for trophies. Like they put these things in there called feats, which are just really fun little meta things to do. And I kind of like them in NES games like that. Like I'm not really wild about, like kill 10,000 zombies in Dead or Rising, get an achievement. But seeing some like little wacky things in NES games that inspire me to play them kind of differently are really cool. So it'll be nice to see that come to PlayStation platforms, specifically for trophies, because there's some stuff already baked in for that. Beyond. David Craig writes into Beyond and says, Beyond.
I am probably the only gamer who hasn't played Minecraft before. However, with both the PlayStation 4 and Vita versions of Minecraft coming out in August, I'm trying to decide which one I am wanting to dive into the most. I know that the PS4 version has a bigger world. However, I've been looking for a Vita game to dive into, and with those two versions not having cross-save, I am probably not going to buy both. Any suggestions? I know Greg and Brian have been dying to jump into the Vita version. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. It's all about where you want to play and how much you want to play, and what like. The thing is, like, we have these train trips, and I'm traveling all the time. So Minecraft, I want it on the portable because it's just a world where you go and you screw around, right?
Yeah,
you just jump in and you do whatever you want to do. I also want it to play on the Vita while I watch TV or do some other kind of media. But if you're going to be remote playing on your PS4, you're around that. So I think it comes down to how much you're going to travel, plus performance. I played the Vita version at E3, right? Mm-hmm. It ran fine. I'm still excited for it at Stoke, but there is a frame rate, you know, like it's not running as smoothly as like the PlayStation 3 version is, and it's the same. That's the one that has cross.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about that game. It's not like you're playing like Super Meat Boy, so if the frame rate dips a little bit, it's okay. You're not dying or anything like that. But I think it's really like what you really want out of this game. So I put about just at home probably 50 hours into the PS3 version, and then I noticed there was a tablet version, so I started messing with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a fun diversion, but to really like build what I wanted to build, I wanted to kind of see it on my giant TV.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So that was like, I know like the more I worked on my house, like it was cool to have it on a small screen, but I wanted it like big thing with falling gardens and all this stuff like that. And every time I walked up to it, there was a huge bridge with like lights all over it and stuff. So yeah, it's really it's what Greg said. I mean, if you find yourself,
the caveat, of course, remember we haven't played or we have not seen final versions of either of these games. So maybe the PlayStation 4 just crashes and eats all your saves.
It could. I imagine if they nail it, the PlayStation 4 version is going to be like the PS3 version with no fog at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Miles
maps are way bigger,
which is really good. We've been playing the PS3 version at work,
right?
And there's times where you get spun around in that game.
Yeah.
Like, where was I supposed to go?
And you can't see. We make these monuments to go to, and we can't get to them.
You can't see a couple 100 feet in front of you.
Watch all of our Let's Plays on YouTube.com.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go grab those. So yeah, it's a matter of preference where you feel like you're going to be playing that game the most. I know for you it makes a lot of sense because you're traveling constantly.
Yeah. And like you raise a good point. I never thought about the fact that I make something amazing on my world, I want to see it on the big screen. Yeah. But if that was to happen, right? Look at it this way: if you play Vita for 50 hours and you're like, man, I made this awesome thing and I want to see it on the world. You could buy again on PS4 and get the one-time upload.
That's right.
And then your world becomes your PS4 world, and it gets bigger and stuff expands, and you'd have it there.
Yep.
It's a lot of questions. Yeah. I can't wait to answer them in August.
I know,
because I'm dying. The Punisher 309 writes in and says, Beyond. I just finished the Mass Effect trilogy for the second time and is one of the few games to ever actually make me feel something after I finished it. I want the people who made the game to know, but I don't know what the best way to tell them is. I thought this was an interesting question. I mean, there's a few ways, obviously. Right now you've written in, not in the BioWare sees, of course Casey Hudson's watching this podcast.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah, good guy.
But I think this is what you talk about, right? Especially with the negativity of the internet, right? Like, on Twitter, it's so easy to sit there and be like, well, now I'm pissed off about this. This one I'm going to yell about. I think tweeting at companies does work. They see them. You know what I mean? They understand that. They have forums. You can find, like I just said, Casey Hudson, right? Like, he's synonymous with BioWare Mass Effect. You could tweet right at him.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time to be alive.
I mean, this is old school, but write him a letter.
Yeah.
Like, we here at IGN, we get, as we talked about earlier, we get thousands and thousands of comments a day on stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them are wonderful. Some of them are negative. A lot of them are horrible. But there are actually a couple places in the office where we have letters that we've got in the mail that are framed and they're up on the wall. Fan art, like letters from fans and stuff like that. And yet, tweet at people and tell them you love what they do. Like I've been preaching this a lot in the last year. I did it on my show, The Comedy Button. But let people know that you're doing something cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy to just be like, your graphics suck or your story was bad or blah, blah, blah. But, like, it takes one extra step to be like, yo, I really love your show. Or I really love Beyond. I really love Mass Effect. Like, do that. People read it. It'll make their
There's
day.
like a ladder, right, of how much you can go for. And there's the comment on the article, which is great. We see it. We love it. Or, I mean, a comment on, a forum post for BioWare, right? Then there's a tweet to the developer. Hopefully they see it, blah, blah. But then, when you start getting to sending letters and stuff, that's like every one we get of those at IGN is like, whoa, this person took so much time to do this. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I know that is not just something that's shared by us. It is the same. When you go to Sucker Punch, they have those books out in their lobby that are every letter they get, and they put them into these things, and you can flip through and read them. And they go from Sly through Infamous. Like, people save those, and that means something that you took the time to go and show them that.
Yeah, I know the Nintendo of America Treehouse has like an entire wall dedicated to letters and fan art and stuff like that. They got them from people. Like, this is significant. People hold on to stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day in Nintendo Power, people used to design and like paint or color envelopes and stuff like that, and send, like, that's how you had to contact them or whatever. And so I used to do that all the time, try to get mine.
Yeah.
They were
Did you ever
terrible.
do it?
I did it, but I mean, they were terrible. They were never used.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine this. Maybe I was so young and it's just so I didn't think about it, but I can't even imagine them getting hate mail like people get now. Like,
oh, no. I mean, I'm sure they definitely get letters, like, you know. It's funny, like, I always think when we talk about how bad the comments are and, like, oh, you suck and yada, yada, yada. I love that stick with me, I'm going somewhere with this. The Mizzou magazine that comes to alumni, they always have letters in there from pissed off alumni who are mad about something they said in the last issue.
Oh,
and
really?
they put them in there, and it's just like, man, like, I'm sure their percentage is, you know, I'm sure the number they get is much lower than our hate comments, right? But there's still that percentage, right? There's still that percentage of people who read the magazine, think the magazine's great, and toss it, and then something clicks for somebody else that makes them upset, and that motivates them to write in. And that, you know, I mean, that's such a weird thing that it's so much easier. Like, we always talk about the Yelp comparison, right? I'm a bad Yelper. I was only reviewing things on Yelp when I was mad, so I just stopped. I'm like, I'm done. Because there's people who are committed to this, who are giving good reviews and bad reviews. But when I come in and I only give negative reviews, I'm just...
It's crazy, right?
Because I go to Pachi's, I love it, I have a great time, and I never sit there and like, Pachi's was excellent tonight, and da-da-da. You know, it's like when somebody screws something up, I tweet about it.
And the worst part about that is that you're right. Like, when you're writing negative Yelp reviews, you're also like, you're hungry. so you're just mad. Like, I have an amazing meal. I want to go to sleep. I don't want to write anything. So... I don't know. Be nice.
Yeah.
Take that extra second, or don't say anything at all.
For what you're saying here, The Punisher 309, you know, you feel something. This is one of the few games that ever. I would write them a letter about that.
Yeah.
I would write a real letter and send it in to BioWare.
Those
you
guys
can find
need
their address on the internet by using Google. So don't ask us. Just do the legwork, ladies and gentlemen. Adam writes in and says, Greg, I heard in the last podcast that you were excited to play Valiant Hearts. I, too, became excited to play it when I saw some posts regarding the game on the PlayStation blog a few weeks back. Have you had the chance to play it, and what are your thoughts? I have. I have been playing it. It's I was trying to hold off till I was on the other side of RTX, but I was so excited for it after the trailer 83, I couldn't wait. So I jumped in. I'm about to finish Chapter 2 of 4 right now. I love it. It's so good. I'm having such a good time with it. The story's so fascinating. Colin and I was talking. You know, Colin is Mr. History. He's got the tattoos on his arms about it. Put him up there, Chief. There you go. Look at that. And so, like, the fact that, like, Colin is this, like, shining sun, you know, exuding history all the time and talking about it. I always feel like I can't talk about how much I love history, too. Like, that was my favorite subject in school and everything else. So, like, to play a game...
I don't know why you don't feel how you feel like that.
Well, I just feel like, you know, I don't know. I just don't want to ever... I always want to make... It's very similar to an episode we put out recently where I don't want to be a fair weather fan of history. I don't want to come in with my minimal history knowledge and sound like I'm trying to say I know a lot.
It's like making a grilled cheese next to a professional chef.
There you go. Now you know what I'm talking about.
Grilled cheese is delicious, but come on.
And so World War I don't think ever gets, you know, other than the whole Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his album getting killed, you know, you never hear
that's how it all started.
about what's happening. Other than that's like the one thing everybody knows about World War I. So to go in, it's like the way they tell the story and tear these people apart and do these, like it's like a super morose game and bittersweet. Every time you jump into the menu to look at one of the collectibles you've got and read a letter from somebody, it's like that music comes on. It's just like so haunting and sad and stuff. But then the puzzles are fun and like I read through Krupa's review. Daniel Krupa for IGN reviewed the game, gave it a 7.7. And like some of the things he got hung up on just weren't a problem for me. Like it is easy. It does go through this. I wasn't jarred by he was a little bit thought it was jarring how you jump in to read these historical facts or see these historical pictures. I think it's all awesome. I think it's this amazing layered experience that's giving all this stuff. So I'm totally stoked to play more. It is one of these games I wish was on Vita so that I could just play it on the train and play it when I go away and do this.
Yeah, I played a lot of Child of Light on Wii U, and that's just I play it the same way you guys play Vita, where it's just on the couch while other things are going on. And then I noticed that Valiant Hearts wasn't there, which like every other Ubi art game pretty much is. And I'm like, okay, I guess they broke up with the Wii U like everyone else did.
Sure,
they're done there. But I do want to play it. It looks beautiful. Like, they grabbed me.
It's fun.
The moment I saw the trailer,
and it's clever. Like like that was the thing. Like when you start playing it, I'm like trying to. in my head search for like because I didn't read all the review. I don't want this thing spoiled for me, but I read the pros and cons, and I'm trying to figure out where the hangups are coming. Like, oh, okay, well, if this is the only thing you do with the gameplay, then I can understand it's going to get, and then it doesn't. It gets really cute, and you're doing something different with it, and like there's these musical scenes. It's awesome.
I saw some sites gave it like 6s, 6.5s, and stuff like that.
Maybe I'm just washed up as a reviewer since I don't do it anymore.
No, I mean I'm totally with you, man. I this happens all the time. I read reviews, even some of our own, and people get hung up on things that weren't really an issue for me. But
it reminds me a lot in a way of not a lot, and stick with me. It reminds me a bit of Gone Home in the way like that was a storytelling experience, right? And I feel like that's what this game is.
Yeah,
this game isn't really challenging me to be like, oh man, how am I going to get on this puzzle? And I'm stuck for minutes and 20 minutes or something. And it's like, how am I? Oh, there, okay, I do. And you figure it all out. And it's done, and it keeps, and it's got a good pace, and I
think people do sometimes. Not saying our reviewer did this, but people in general sometimes go into something expecting a genre that it really isn't, and when it delivers something a different experience than that, it's kind of jarring for them. So,
yeah, I will say that. I mean, it's a game I want to play. I'm very excited about it. It's on my list, very high on my list. Probably play it this weekend. I love that it deals with World War I, and I feel like World War I's a very underappreciated conflict in terms of how consequential it was. And since we're not European, I feel like we're very detached from it. World War II, we're more attached to because we were attacked directly in that, and it was really a much more global war than the Great War was. But we fought in World War I, but we basically came in at the end. We're like, yeah, we won. Yeah, but like we didn't really do anything. But like that was a really bloody and brutal war that really shaped and maimed and effed up an entire generation of people, and like you can't underappreciate how definitive those moments were for everyone that was involved in World War II. From Hitler to like Mussolini and Churchill and all these guys, like they all were involved in these weird sordid ways in this war, and World War II was just the continuation of it. And so World War II has this glamorous kind of thing about it. We love World War II because it was very mechanized and modern, but like World War I was brutal and tough and meaningless. Like it was like that was like the war was like the line barely moved, like the front line barely moved. It was trench warfare. You stayed in trenches for days. If you got curious 1 minute, you'd pop your head up and get your head blown off. Like it's just like people should read about it because it's just a really messed up war, and like and I just love it because it's so like what happened at the end of it with Versailles and all those things were so consequential. Immediately drove tipped the domino, as it were, for the Nazis to rise to power and stuff. So like it's all interrelated, and I feel like World War II gets all of this love, and World War I doesn't get any love at all, except for the assassination of
Franz Ferdinand,
Archduke
Franz Ferdinand. He dropped a new album.
Right, exactly. So I encourage people to play the game, see what they think about it. I'm really excited about it, but also just kind of appreciate it as a conflict, and we should try to figure out as a group of gamers and game developers and all these kinds of things, like what else could we do with this war? Because there are fascinating stories to be told there. It's a very romantic time in European history too. Right before, if you watch Downton Abbey, you know about all of that and how World War I really affected them. In England and in France and all these places, and it's just not glamorous. You can't play a shooter in World War I. And that's like why that's why gamers don't care. But I think World War I is.
I think it goes to what I was saying before, though. I think we're growing from that, right? Like the fact that a game like this even exists, would not have been a thing. I think 10 years ago,
absolutely
or 5
not.
years ago. So we're moving in the right place.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Podcast Beyond episode 349. Thank you so much for your time. Remember, Podcast Beyond is the internet's #1 PlayStation podcast, and it posts every Tuesday as an MP3, then as a video every Wednesday. So make sure you download it, watch it, do all that stuff. Then keep the mics on. ign.com pays the bills. Go there, read the articles, watch the videos, subscribe to Prime. Here it is. At Nick Mellison wrote in and said, "Hey, I'm Nick from New Hampshire. I just want to know where I can buy a Podcast Beyond t-shirt. That's easy. You go to splitreason.com/IGN. We have 2 Podcast Beyond shirts up there. The one with the big logo and the Beyond 316 shirt that I love. And I tell you what, I wore that through Skid Row when I went down to L.A. And lots of questions from the random crackheads and crazy dumb people out there about what my shirt meant. And I was like, this was a mistake.
It's the lost book of the New Testament.
Yeah. Okay. I saw a lady just drop her pants and start peeing when I was walking by.
Well,
I was like, damn.
Welcome to LA.
Beyond. All right, Beyond. Keep up with us on Twitter. IGN is IGN. I'm Game Over Greggy. Colin is No Taxation. Brian Altano is Agent Bizzle. Brian, thank you for your time.
Dude, of course.
We love you so much.
Love you guys.
Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.